And I'm here with Rich, and we have some really special guests with us today.
So at the far end, we have Mr. Yamagami from NCL. Then we have one of our NOA translators, Alex, in the middle, and Mr. Yokota, also from NCL.
Right, so we're going to jump right in and take a look at the prologue of Fire Emblem Fates.
Finally. I'm excited.
What's really cool about this new game is that there are actually two versions. So they both share a few chapters of the prologue, but then after you kind of get to know the scenario, get to know the characters, you get to make a crucial decision, which we'll get to in a second, and at which point that'll actually branch you off into one of two completely different full games.
Right.
So your decision actually has a huge impact in this.
Yeah, it completely transforms your experience, not just in terms of the story that you're seeing, but also the battles that you're fighting, the people that you meet, who joins you, who's your friend, who's your enemy.
It changes everything. So we'll throw to our developers here to give us some more insight. But first I kind of want to set up just what's going on and who we have here. Now that kind of grumpy looking guy is King Corrin. And that person walking up is Corrin. That is the avatar that you can create. You can make him a prince or a princess. You can name him whatever you want. We're just going to call him Corrin for now because that makes my life easier. So Corrin has grown up in the Kingdom of Nor. He's been in complete isolation from the whole world. He's been surrounded by his Norian siblings who he's grown up loving. They've taken care of him. As far as he knows, it's business as usual in the Kingdom of Nor.
This is how a family works.
This is how family works, but obviously we're going to find out later that things aren't quite as he seemed, as he thought they were. So, these are your siblings. This is little sister Elise. This is Camilla. And we also have Leo and Xander. So, Corrin has finally bested the Crown Prince, his brother Xander, in battle. In a mock battle, to be fair, but it still counts. It definitely counts.
They've spent years training and building up to this moment, so this is sort of a coming of age for him.
It's a coming of age, and now King Corrin finally feels like he has what it takes. He can fight on behalf of Nor. So we were wondering if the developers could give us a little bit of insight into the story here.
はい、先ほどカムイは閉じ込められてたっていうところもあるんですけど、いろいろ訓練はしてて一人前になったっていうタイミングで、父親のガロン王からどれぐらいちゃんと戦えるようになったかっていうのをテストしてやるっていう風なストーリーになっている状態です。
So at this point, as you mentioned briefly earlier, that Corrin has been imprisoned in the fortress for so long. Now it's his chance to basically show off what he's learned through his training, and he's got his chance to prove it to King Corrin, his father here, and that's the very spot that you're on right now.
True. This is the first real battle that he's ever been in right here.
You don't want to disappoint Daddy.
We don't.
He's a very serious man.
He's very grumpy, and that's an interesting point, is that while Corrin's Norian siblings are very loving and very kind, his father, King Corrin, is actually a pretty cruel ruler, so you don't want to get on his bad side.
Yeah, you can't tell it from his artwork, but that's his smile.
That's him smiling. That's him happy. And so, as a test, Corrin is actually going to make King Corrin is actually going to make Corrin fight these two Hoshiden prisoners who they've captured. And it's interesting to note that depending on which version you end up choosing, which choice you make, your relationship with these Hoshiden prisoners is going to be wildly different. If you choose to go Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, the Path of Nor, you're not going to be on the best of terms with the Hoshidens, to say the least.
Yeah,
they're not going to be very happy with you. But if you go Fire Emblem Fates Birthright, the Path of Hoshido, they're going to be okay with you. So every decision you make kind of affects how people react to you.
Although no matter what decision you wind up making, this initial moment, still you're going to be on opposite sides at this point. You haven't really figured out which way you're going to go with your life.
This is setting up the basic conflict so that when you make a decision, it actually is meaningful to you. And we're about to come upon this Dragon Vein, which is a new gameplay addition that maybe they can tell us a little bit about.
ここで龍脈のことに関してちょっと新しい質問。
はい。龍膜はファイアーエンブレムフェイト IF から追加された仕様なんですけど、基本的にはこうやって使うと有利になるんですけど、 まあ、時には敵側も使ってくることがあるんでマップの戦略が大きく変わる要素となりました。で今回2章で龍脈使った時今回いろいろ変わるんですけどこの章では使うことで真ん中のエリアが通れなかったんですけどその部分が回復床になって仲間のヒットポイントを回復してくれるという効果を発揮したっていうステージになります。
So with the Dragon Veins, you'd be able to use this new feature here to sort of help you out in the battle and make it easier for you to progress through the map. As you just did, you open up that spot that was previously unable to go through. And on top of that, you are also able to keep it for yourself to heal your own HP. Also, there are some enemies that will sort of use that same Dragon Veins technique against you. So it's one more thing that you have to consider as you go through your battle.
No, it's another way to interact with the map. You can actually change the layout to be in your benefit, which is the first time for the series.
Yeah, I really like the way that this opens up some strategic options for you too. Once you clear out all of that stuff, you can take a couple of different approaches to this map. You might be able to sort of make a bottleneck where the enemies would have to come at you one at a time.
So there's a lot we're kind of holding in our pocket. We don't want to give away too much, but perhaps they'd like to tell us a little bit about why they chose to make two versions of the game.
これまでにちょっとセットアップしてきたんですけど、選択肢に関して利用しているのに入って2つのバージョンを作ろうと考えています。
実はですね、この2つのお話が、分かれるというアイデアは、ファイアーエンブレムの過去の作品にヒントを得て考えられたものです。
So first off, there was a Fire Emblem that we released in the past that had this sort of idea of having a different choice that the player would make, and that's how I kind of got the inspiration of it.
初代のファイアーエンブレム、暗黒竜と光の剣、ここのあるマップで2つの村が存在していて、どちらかの村の仲間、村人と話しかけるとどちらかの村の1人しか仲間にできないっていうそういう遊びがあったんですね。
So in the very first Fire Emblem game for the Famicom, we had this scene where you were supposed to choose between two villagers to make it your ally.
Right.
And so that's sort of the thing that made a good impression, left a good impression in myself to kind of implement that in this game.
この遊びは、どちらの兵種を選びますかという遊びで、これはまあ遊びとしてはそれで成立しているんだけれども、私はどちらの人間を選ぶのかってやるんだったら、やっぱ話は変わるんですかって当時のディレクターに言ったら、お話は一緒なんだって言われて、お話変えてほしいっていうのを言ったのを覚えてたんですね。
So that was just sort of one of the elements in that game. Where you can choose either a villager to make it as your friend. When you choose one, you can't befriend the other one.
Right.
So at the time when I heard about that idea, I thought it was great, and I asked the developers to see if that would be something that would change the storyline itself. But it was actually not the case.
で、ファイアーエンブレムの覚醒がね出来上がった後に、インテリジェントの皆さんと我々で次は何を作ろうかっていう話をした時に、僕はこの話を思い出して。どちらかの仲間もしどっちかを選んだときにそのどちらにつくかによってお話が変わるっていうエンブレムを作ったら面白いんじゃないかっていう話をしたらインテリジェントさんがそれはいいぜひ話を考えさせてくれっていうふうに言ってくださったんです。
So after having Fire Emblem Awakening being a great title, being popular here, I thought about bringing up this similar concept of making that choice, leaving that choice up to the players to decide their own fate, to sort of not only get a specific person to be your friend, but also to change the story completely, to basically choose your own path.
で、その結果、インテリジェントさんから返ってきたシナリオのプロットが生みの親につくのか、それとも育ての親につくのか、どちらを選択するのかっていう話でいきませんか。これはエキサイティングだって言って。このもしっていうのをテーマに作ろうって言って作り上げたのが今作です。
So the theme here was basically having that sort of dilemma with it. What if I do this? What if I choose this person? What if I choose this path? And the script that we came up with was just a choice between either choosing your siblings that you grew up with, or sort of your side of the family that from the country that you were born in. So that's sort of like creating that exciting, setup for you to make that crucial choice.
その大切なシーンをぜひ今少しだけご覧いただきましょうか。
And here we'll be seeing that
Very
exciting
briefly.
portion of the
Yes.
game too. So let's look forward to that.
Okay, so just to catch up, now we've just finished this battle, and now Corrin, he's been in isolation this whole time. He's a little naive about how King Corrin is and things like that. So he's like, wow, that was a great battle. That was sure fun. And King Corrin's just like, well, finish him. What are you doing? So Corrin, he's never killed anyone before. He doesn't want to start now. So he actually opposes King Corrin's rule, which is not something that anybody ever does.
Right.
And so we're gonna have to click through here real quick, but basically his siblings kind of jump in for him, and they're really worried because they know that even though King Corrin is their father, he will not hesitate to kill any one of them. So they kind of band together to help Corrin and get these Hoshiden prisoners to escape without Corrin getting in too much trouble.
And I love the way that this starts to set up some of the family dynamic, because even if you choose to go with the Nor path over the Hoshido path, it's not like one path is definitely good, one path is definitely bad. King Corrin seems, kind of dodgy himself, but the rest of his family, the rest of your siblings, the people that you believe to be your siblings in this storyline, they're good at heart. They know that they're in, they know that Corrin is sort of a toughie, but they themselves are not bad people. You're not choosing a good versus evil morality. It's more like you're choosing your loyalty to the people that you were raised with, or to the family that you don't know but that you belong to.
You're right, and so for me that's what makes it such an interesting decision. It's just like you said, is that these siblings who you've grown up with, they're really good, kind people, and you truly love them. But if you choose to go that route, you're with the people you love, but you're living under the thumb of a really cruel and terrible king. Whereas if you choose to go the Hoshido route, then you're in a peaceful kingdom and you're with the family that you should have grown up loving, but you don't really know these people. So it's a really tough and emotional decision, and we'll actually get a little peek of that in just a bit.
And that thing that you mentioned just now about being with the family that you were raised with, but being under the thumb of a despot, that alone significantly changes the gameplay experience. So it's not like you're getting, like, the experiences that you have are just so completely different if you stick with the Norian family as opposed to going off with the Hoshido family.
No, there aren't minor differences between these versions. Each game is a completely different fate for this character core, and it's a completely different set of maps, set of characters, completely different story, and it's just amazing to see how one decision can wildly affect not only him, but everybody he loves and the fate of the entire world. And so here, Leo has made it seem like he finished off these Hoshiden prisoners, but he's actually just kind of put them to sleep. He's a very powerful mage.
It's a very deep sleep.
Yes, and
very
so
convincing.
With Xander's help, they're going to let them escape. And this is kind of, we're clicking through it, but this is kind of a nice moment with Rinka. And I say nice, she's actually pretty rude, but Corrin is saying, we're letting you go, I hope next time we meet it can be friends. And she's like, well, that's cute, but I don't think you understand how it works, kid. And so we're going to just jump to this next chapter real quick.
The next bit that we're going to see is a very crucial character bit. This is going to be the scene that you get to make this all-important decision.
Yes.
And we're going to give you a little glimpse of the kind of family dynamics that you see going on and how much you're being pulled in one direction and then in the other direction by the various people that you've come to know through the story.
Sure, we don't want to spoil too much, and we'll throw it to the developers in just a moment to kind of explain more about this crucial decision point. But basically, Corrin finds out that he is not actually a prince or a princess of Nor as he thought he was.
It's not such a big spoiler as you think.
No, so
Seems big, but
he finds out that he's actually a prince of Hoshido, and so he actually belongs to their sworn enemy. So
raised under the illusion that he's actually King Corrin's rightful son.
And he finds himself in the company of the Hoshidans. He learns about all the terrible things that King Corrin's done and all about his actual birth. And
You find out maybe a little bit about why Garen is such a jerk to you all the time.
Yeah, so he's faced with a pretty difficult decision. And if we can switch back to my 3DS.
We're going to switch at any moment back to our 3DS.
At any moment, we will switch to the crucial decision point.
じゃあ6章
If we could just
の
get-
説明しますか。
Chapter 6.
There we go. So
There
we're
we
on the
go.
battlefield. This is literally Nor versus Hoshido, and Corrin's in the middle. And let's let the developers give us a little more insight onto
Right.
this very hard to watch moment.
第6章なんで始めていきます。
画面が。
Oh, there we go.
今ちょうど
こっちの
ちょうど今これ分かれ目だよね。
Okay.
じゃあ6章の説明しましょうか。まあ、簡単に今の状況を説明すると、もともと白夜王国と暗夜王国って、戦争が続いてたんですけど、ちょっとこの前の章で、大きな事件が起きて、いよいよ白夜王国と暗夜王国が大きな戦争始まるよっていうところで、ちょっとその白夜のマークスと白夜の龍馬と暗夜のマークスが戦うっていう時になってっていうところから始まります。
So at this point, till now, Hoshido and Nor didn't quite get along to begin with, but after a certain incident, there's something big that happens, and you see in game. That spot that you just saw now is sort of up to that crucial point where you come up to Prince Xander and Ryoma, basically facing each other, trying to, get Corrin to join either of the kingdoms.
So this is your first real opportunity at seeing both of the family sides, Nor and Hoshido, reaching out to you simultaneously.
It's like an awful family reunion.
It's really awkward.
Really terrible.
Everybody wants to kill everybody else.
It's no good for anyone.
We're just bringing up the scene now. We ran into a brief hiccup.
All right.
There we
now
go.
we got it. Sorry, this game is still in development. We're still working out the kinks.
Yeah, we're getting there.
And here we are. So Corrin has just run off with his Hoshidan siblings into the battlefield to meet with his Norian siblings, who he loves and doesn't really want to be battling with.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah. So here, the Crown Prince of Nor, Xander, is, let's say, debating with the Crown Prince of Hoshido, Ryoma, over where Corrin should live, and that's a really nice way to put it.
It's a chat.
And after you've played through the prologue, this is actually a really tough battle to go through, because at that point, you've gotten to know your Norian siblings, you've gotten to know your Hoshidan siblings, and so seeing them face off and having to then choose basically which side you love more is really, really awful and hard to do.
It's a very Fire Emblem decision for me, though. I mean, every Fire Emblem game, I find characters that I've connected with, and I build relationships with them.
はい、まさにここです。
That's right here is the moment where I
あ
was
なた
talking
の
about
プレイヤー
earlier.
の運命は今ここで決まるんです。
That's exactly when you
どちらを
decide
選ぶか。
your fates, basically, as we've been talking about.
一緒に育った兄弟、義理の兄弟を選ぶか、血のつながった兄弟を選ぶか。
Choosing
運命
between
の分か
the
れ道
family you grew up with or the ones that you, from the same country that you were born.
And,
Sort of the exciting moment that you see in game.
It
and
is.
we're not going to show the resolution of that moment right now.
We're
because
not going to give you that. You're going to have to make the decision yourself and see what happens. But as you can see, it's not an easy choice.
Right, you
And
see how
so-
much they're all pulling at you, too. It's really...
They're not making it easy on you.
It's pretty heartbreaking by the time you hit that moment in
It
the
is.
game. But we're going to walk away from the story section.
So we're going to take a little. We're going to take a look at My Castle, which is actually a great thing to look at right now, because My Castle is an area where you can go to amid this really heavy story, all of these weighty decisions, to go and relax and sort of relax with your party and
Step away from the
smell
family
the roses.
There's still a lot of decisions to be made once you get to My Castle.
Decisions are a theme, but
and I think Mr. Yokota is going to show us a little bit of that right now.
we're going to see a little bit of My Castle.
ちょっと準備している間に少しさっきのムービーの補足すると
Now it's worth noting that when we get My Castle up here,
okay,
you're going to see some Japanese text. That's not going to be in the English version.
Like you mentioned, we're still in the middle of the localization process right now.
We're still in development.
Yeah, deep in development. And so what you're looking at right now is just going to... Don't worry, it'll be in English.
It'll be in English. You'll be able to read it. So perhaps they can tell us a little bit about My Castle.
OK でちょっとマイキャッスルの話する前にさっきのムービーとかでちょっとした情報なんですけど、まあ、しっかり先ほどは多分男性バージョンのムービーだったんですけどカムイを女性にした時はお姉さんってが呼んでもらいますしお兄さんお姉さん変わりますしカムイ自身が出てくるシーンはちゃんと男性バージョン女性バージョン作ってるのでご安心ください。
To add a little bit to the information that we've been revealing so far, he wants to also say that you'll be able to choose between a male player and a female player. Obviously, the other cutscenes will also reflect that you'll be able to see, their outfit accordingly. Also, the voice of the characters that you choose will also be in the cutscene as well. So that's something additional that I would like to add that'll be exciting for you to see, based on the choice that you've made at the beginning of the game.
This is a feature that I love about My Castle.
Yes.
For the first time, you're able to walk around freely. And I love being able to drop into that almost first-person view and look around and see the scene firsthand.
Yeah, and this is perhaps a little nerdy, but I love running around as a little sprite character. You can move them around from place to place on the map, but this is the first time you can just freely control them and run around all willy-nilly.
Yeah, it has a really
It's
classic
enjoyable.
RPG feel to
It
me.
does.
Yeah. Please carry on.
マイキャッスルこれ白夜王国で始めた時に初めて手に入るお城なんですけど
So this one we're showing the My Castle area that you will see when you choose the Hoshido path.
で自分のお城にはこの場所に執事さんかメイドさんがいるんですけど主人公が男性の場合は最初はフェリシアがメイドとしていてくれて、女性のカムイだとジョーカーが最初はいてくれます。
So first here, as you see, you have a female maid character who's basically your helper in My Castle. If you choose a male player character, then you have Felicia to start up. And if you choose a female character, then your helper here will be a male character.
I want to add that they're not just domestic servants within My Castle, they also are full fighting units. So everybody's got a couple of functions in the game. Even the staff of the castle participates in the battles and vice versa.
Yeah, she's actually kind of awful at domestic work, but she's great in battle, Felicia.
Yeah, she's got her primary job is actually kicking butt.
She does, yes.
ちょっといろいろ立ててみようかなと思います。でマイキャッスルはストーリーが進むと建てられる建物とかも増えていくんですけど今これちょっと序盤なんで、建てれるのは種類が少ないっていう状態になります。
So here, as you can see, I've placed a few buildings around just to give you the feeling of how it works. Since it's at the very beginning of the game, there's not a whole lot that I can do, but I can still place some buildings around just to sort of decorate the area to make it look nicer,
But the buildings also have a function within the game as well. If Mr. Yokota would like to expand on that a little bit.
建物自体の何か機能がありますよね。建物によってバトルとかで補助的な役をする。もう少しお話をしていただけますか。
そうですね。建物を建ててそのお買い物とかしたりして。ショーとショーの間の準備をするための施設とかもあるんですけどこのマイキャッスルを使ってすれ違いで対戦することもできるんでその時はその施設によってはちょっと受けるダメージがマイナス3にしたりとかそういういろんな効果あるんで、バトルに特化して設置するか自分がカスタマイズしやすいようにお店に行きやすいように近い場所に配置する のかいろいろ考えながらカスタマイズするのが楽しいところだと思います。
Just like you mentioned, Rich, we have all these buildings where you can pretty much use them to get new items and weapons and armor and things like that when you're in between chapters. So once you're done with one chapter, you visit this area to sort of relax and move around, decorate your own area. And also when you do Street Pass with your friends, then the buildings that are on this area will sort of play a role that in the way that it'll help you out by adding certain stats to your players or by reducing the amount of damage that you take from the enemies. So it's really cool. So it's not just the way it looks, but it also affects the way you play against other players as well.
Right, and speaking of Street Pass, we don't have too much time, but perhaps they'd like to actually show us a Street Pass battle.
すれ違い通信の対戦をちょっと見せていただくことはできますか？
わかりました。ちょっと準備しますね。
Let me prepare this real quick.
Yes.
はい、このように施設の前にキャラクターを配置してその先ほど言ったすれ違いの対戦のチームを作ることができます。覚醒の時はチーム10人どうするかっていうところだけしかできなかったんですけど、ファイアエンブレム IF ではこのお城マップごとその対戦で送ることができるんで、ここはカスタマイズ要素っていうのはすごい楽しいところになっていると思います。
So as you can see, you place your units in front of like each one of the buildings that you have. In Awakening, you were only able to customize it within the 10 players that you have, so you sort of had that limitation here. However, here you have more options depending on how far your castle is branched out. You can add more units to play along with you on the battle in Street Pass. So.
今回はちょっとすれ違い通信なかなかできない環境なので、自分の作ったマイキャッスルを自分で試してみるっていうモードがあるんで、それをちょっとやってみます。
So right now it's not quite the Street Pass itself, but I'm showing a mode that's similar to that you can test out your own team in my castle area. So we can sort of have a simulated battle here, just to show how the mechanics work when you have a battle within your own castle.
So your castle becomes your battle map.
キャッスルがバトル場になるということですね。マップになるということ。
はい、そうです。
That's exactly right.
Well, with the game not being finished yet, it's no wonder that he hasn't street passed a bunch of people, but it's cool that we can kind of get a preview of it like this.
うまく壊せなかったんですけど、施設は先ほど言ったようにいろんな効果を持ってるんで、そのマイキャッスル製の時だけ持ってる効果があるんで、邪魔なんで壊してしまった方が有利なんですね。だからせっかく建てた建物が壊れたりしてしまって、ちょっとびっくりっていうことはあるんですけど、そのマイキャッスルで壊れたのは別に次の戦闘が終わったらちゃんと治るので、そこはご安心いただけたらなと思います。
Second, I wanted to show that you can attack the buildings that are on the opponent's my castle area to see how that affects the battle. But I couldn't quite show it at this time. But that will certainly affect the way you proceed through the battle itself. And you might be surprised when someone else that you street passed with breaks your buildings in those battles, but it's nothing to worry about. They will be back to normal once you're done with that battle, so we're all good here.
What I love about this is the way in which your decisions in developing your castle are going to affect your Street Pass battles. You can develop it for like aesthetics to make it look really beautiful, or you can design it so that it's just like a perfect combat defense machine, you know, and then you can have really strong attack and really strong defense and when you're doing your Street Pass battles.
Or you can find a balance of the two.
I'm a function guy.
Yeah.
I'm all about like get in there, maximize.
That's true. I just want to win.
楽しみができるという。
はい。そうですね。このマイキャッスルはいろいろカスタマイズできるんで、すごい楽しんでいただけたらなと思います。
So as you mentioned, you can customize this area as much as you'd like, and it's a lot of fun. I'm sure you all be excited to play this game
All right, well, thank you so much for coming and showing us the game.
Arigatou.
We're about out of time. We're going to be taking a look at Fire Emblem Fates over the next couple of days, too, so stay tuned for that. Up next, we have Runbow on Nintendo Treehouse Live at E3. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.